Hi there. If you're viewing this video, you're probably like me 3 weeks ago and you've downloaded UXPin and you're using it to try it out in the trial period, and you go looking for resources to help you, but you can't find much. I've created this video to try and help that learning process a little bit. I'm not associated with UXPin. I don't work for them. I'm just another user who's downloaded it. I am a designer and I've worked quite a bit with Figma in the past. Here we go. So I've inside UXPin here, and I'm just going to go into this project, PCC, and we'll go inside that. Now, this is what I've tried to do to get to know the tool. I've sort of tried to recreate an experience that I've created in Figma, that I've drawn and I've created, my visual components in Figma to do that. But I'm inside UXPin. I now want to do it using the UXPin actual components, in this case, the MUI component library. I'm inside the project now. You can see up here, you have all of the pages that make up the experience that I've designed so far. There's not, everything's not in there yet. There's a lot of pages that are still missing. But you can you click on a page and then it opens up that page inside the editing environment. Underneath that, you've got the stack of components that make up the page that you currently have selected. And then you can move between the page and layouts panel here to the design system libraries panel, which is where you can select which library you want to use. And there's a few inbuilt ones or ones that you've imported in yourself. In this case, I'm using the MUI library. And I'm using that, and that's just full of these lovely components here, which I can drag and drop into the work area and then configure. And when you select an individual component, so you can go inside the menu stack, I touch this image one, you can see the properties associated with that individual component. Sometimes components contain components, and that's why you have, if you will, this stack. In this case, I've got a container component, which is the core component that holds all the other components, and that's a really cool component because it's allows for flex layouts and things like that. But I've just, you can see in this case, I've broken the page up at the highest level into two subcomponents, what I'm calling the header stack and the body stack. They're actually the stack component, and I've just added my name in front so I know which stack it is. So the header stack is a horizontal stack of objects at the top, and the body stack is actually a vertical stack of objects which make up the body of the page. All right. You can actually affect these objects that you're bringing in the stack. So say, for example, the header stack here, you can see how it's blue behind, the background is actually blue. I've added that in so that the components out of the box, that's not included. So if I, take that JavaScript out and then we go back to it, you now see that it's actually, okay, the image has got the blue behind it, but everything else is white and you can't see anything, right? So I've actually styled up that object to include, in this case, the background color. There's a little bit of padding on the left so that the image and the buttons on the right-hand side here don't get too close to the edge. There's a bit of padding on right and left, and then there's also, I've aligned all the items in there to the center, so everything's nicely centered. And I've justified the content to space in between because I have two objects, one on the left side of the flex stack and then one on the right-hand side. And so the final result is you can see the app menu stack, which is this piece here, is on the left, and the user stack, which is a set of 3 buttons, is on the right, and everything is nicely centered. And then in the body stack, I've got this thing called the name stack. It's a horizontal stack which contains 2 things, a piece of type and this drop down. And so there you can see that's the type, and there's the drop down, and then you can see the objects. There's menu items in that drop down, and there's two potential values. One is Royal Adelaide Hospital and the other one is Norwood Medical Clinic at the moment. And they've also got associated values, which you can use to run logic inside it. And they've actually, in this case, they've got a width control as well. So this, I'm actually forcing the width of this select box to be 200 pixels. Now, the JSON is interesting. So I've not come across it like this. This is, sorry, I've not written CSS in JSON script before, but this is basically the way it goes. Everything starts with a curly, ends with a curly, and then each associated modifier is, the name of it is always in inverted commas. There's a colon directly after the last inverted comma of the name of the selector, and then the value is always inverted commas, except for numbers. I don't think numbers need to be in inverted commas. And there's, if you have more than one modifier, you then, or class or subclass or whatever it is, the you have to have a comma, but the last one cannot have a comma. Now, if you make a mistake, it doesn't show you you've made a mistake in that JSON, but when you go out of it, what you'll see is it goes to red here, and that means that JSON is not functioning correctly. So if I go back and I remove that, in this case, if I remove this one, watch out, it'll still remain broken. But if I add that one in now, it'll say, okay, it's all hunky-dory, and that's working correctly. There's no light up, if you will. So it gives you a little bit of help, but it'd be better if it was in line. Now, what else? Also, that one of the things I've found quite useful is there's some quite good, online JSON validators. So you can kind of, and they help you, like if you've got a problem, like you've made that mistake, but you just can't see it, you can copy and paste that into an online validator, and they'll actually tell you what line is breaking the JSON. So that helps you more. I wish that kind of feature was actually in this product. That'd be really cool because it'll make things quicker, because you're writing a lot of script, as it turns out. Now, one of the things that I learned working with this system is that the most important components are not the components, the widget components, things like buttons and drop downs and the like, but actually the layout components. In this case, I've got a container which I'm using as the thing to hold everything, and then I've got lots of stacks. I've used the stack object a lot. It's really flexible, or not that flexible, but it's really easy to use. I can always have a stack of things horizontally or vertically, and I can have stacks within stacks to get different, layout approaches. And it seems to, work quite well. There is actually another one, which is the box. So you can see if we go to the body stack here, the body stack, which is basically everything below the header, which is made up of a name stack, which is these two objects here side by side, and then an expects stack, which is a vertical stack. And that stack contains a title box, which is this blue piece up here, which basically contains a piece of text. Also, there will be some styling there with the, no, the background color's not there. Why is that? Where is that background color then? Interesting. Not sure why that background color is appearing there. Why don't we make the name stack? Interesting. Maybe that is, it's capturing, it's becoming across by default, or is that a different blue? That may be actually the wrong blue. So if I go to this header stack, get that background color modifier, grab that, and I'll paste it into the title box here. And really, that should have one more modifier, which is that background color, and that'll be the correct blue. I think that'll work. And now, yes, we actually have the correct blue there. And then this should be for we do the title box, we should do that for this one as well. So I'll just add another comma here. Get rid of that comma. All right, and so they're actually correct now. So this box is another layout component. Interestingly, so inside expects, you see we've got cards inside that. So inside this stack, which is actually a a horizontal stack as opposed to vertical stack, we now have a whole lot of cards one after the other. Now this is interesting. So because we're using the layout container with it, and that's set, it's set to a fixed width here, but it shouldn't. It should be not fixed. Take that out, and then once we can now see what that's going to look like in a flex environment. Now it really needs to have a breakpoint here to convert those menus and buttons across into a hamburger menu. I haven't quite worked that out yet, but you can see there's quite a bit of flexibility there. Okay, so we talked about layout components. Yeah, and the Flexbox. The Flexbox guide is a very useful piece. So I don't know whether you know about that. I didn't know about it until I started working with this. So it's been really good for me to learn about more recent CSS. As a designer, I really haven't been touching with CSS much. I've been basically drawing pictures and letting the tools provide the CSS, but now working with this, I'm having to learn more CSS, which I think is really quite empowering. So this is a really handy site, which really teaches you about Flexbox, and which is a whole bunch of CSS properties to allow you to create responsive layouts quite flexibly. So that's something to look at as well. And you can incorporate all of that. So I've incorporated in some cases Flex features to enable the experience. Now, all right, so you can also create interlinkages. So in the case of the header here in the app menu, if you open that up, you'll see there's this little link icon there. That really, I've just gone ahead and I've created a go to page function if you click on that. Now, this is not affecting the code that's coming out the other end. This is really just to help the simulator functionality, which I'll actually open up now so you can see it. And that'll lead into some interesting things as well in terms of value that UX Pin Merge delivers to us. So in simulate mode, those links are actually clickable. So now you can actually click to navigate between the different pages. And all of the CSS, all of the animations, all that sort of stuff built into these components is actually operating. You see, it's actually the quality of the simulation is really quite good. All of the grow bars and everything work correctly. It's pretty sweet. Now, there's other things here as well. So there's obviously commenting functionality, but what's really nice is this specifications piece, especially when you marry it up to layers, because here you can now, if you click on that component, which is the container for everything, because the container component contains all of the other components. Let me open that up. You can just see this whole component stack. Why did it do that? Okay, it's a little bit slow. Now, at the moment, we're looking on the right-hand side here. You can now see all that JSX code. So if you will, I'm calling this the component frame. So I'm imagining that in the future, maybe in the near future, we could be creating wireframes, and then from the wireframe, we create the component frame, which is this thing that just proves out that everything we've designed is actually deliverable in the component set of choice. And then once we're happy that that's true, we go on and create maybe our fancy Figma layout that uses those same components that have been proved out in this component frame. And then when we go to the developer, we actually hand them the Figma, which represents the visual look and feel of what we're after, and then the component frame, which represents the structure that we want to implement and the associated components that we want to use. And then the front-end developer then merges the two. I think this is kind of an interim situation. Eventually, we'll be able to do everything inside this tool, but well, certainly I can't at the moment. Maybe it's possible, or indeed you need to do some work in this tool and then get a front-end developer then to make those modifications that you want, and then upload those updated components to GitHub, and then take those into UX pin merge. Anyway, we'll see where it goes. Let me know if you like this video. If you would like some more lower level stuff, I can actually start constructing screens, or if it's hopeless, I can deal with that as well. All right, see ya.